Andrew Smyk is joining us today. He's professor and program coordinator at Sheridan's Interactive Media Management postgraduate program. So welcome. Thanks for coming. And our speaker, the second speaker for the evening, will be Naomi Bauer, who's a product designer at Rangle. Okay, so I'll just let you do your thing. Thanks.
All right, can everyone hear me? Yes? Awesome. All right. So what I was going to do is we're going to play with paper. I was going to play with paper, but what happened is I saw the guest list at 140 people, and I was like, oh, that's too much to print. So I just brought one, and we all have to share. Okay, so this is just a little exercise you can do with your client to kind of help them understand the digital product that you're going to be building for them. So I kind of stole this title from The Hobbit, so it's from digital to physical and back again. If you go to andrewsmyk.com/AXD, I put up a little website with some links to some of the templates and some of the other things that are going to be discussed. And if you want, you can ask me questions via Twitter. I'm doing that and Pokemon Go, so I'm always online now. All right, so we get, we go to our client meetings, we put in our RFP, and then we get to work on projects. Yay! And then how many people here do sort of product development, but from the project management side of it? 1, 2, 3, okay, a few. All right, and then we get to do our project budgets. And after that, we start getting into planning meetings with all the stakeholders and so on. And sort of one of the big questions we always have to ask ourselves is like, can we understand the big picture? And how can we get from here to there? So we usually break down the project. I'm doing a project right now for one of the banks because millennials really love mobile banking. So that's where we're going with that. And the project kind of breaks down to all these components, requirements, features, the user interface, the user experience technologies. Then we have the big argument over native, over hybrid. What kind of sprints are we going to do? What is our minimal viable product that we're going to throw out there? Doing some user research, the budget, the project team, and the stakeholders. So we got all these things. And this exercise really kind of focuses on user requirements, features, project team, and the stakeholders. So the idea is you want to get the project team and the stakeholders together, and instead of just talking about the project, you basically do arts and crafts about the project. And you want them to contextualize this project. And without the contextualization, you're going to come into all sorts of problems. So everyone is going to have their own idea of what the project is. And a simple illustration of this is I'm going to ask everybody to think about the letter X. All right, everyone has a picture of the letter X in it. All right, and I'm just going to point to someone. You, ma'am, what did you think about when I said the letter X? Like, what shape is it? How big is it? What color is it? And anyone want to throw out what they thought? Just 2 cross sticks? What color, though?
What color?
Yeah. Black, all right. Anyone else? Anyone else want to give me an example of what they did with when they thought when I said the letter X? 3D X. Like the X, okay. Oh, and I did it wrong because it was supposed to be blue, right? All right, right there. We got to go back, have another feature creep already thrown in here because it was supposed to be blue. I used purple. We're going to have a project meeting about that. Okay? Now, just simply by just talking to the group, like we could probably, if we handed out pieces of paper, everyone would draw a different kind of X. And we're not even on the same page for the project, and the project's a lot more complicated than the letter X. So we have to contextualize this. And if we don't, the whole launching of the user experience, the minimal viable product, and our research is just going to go out the door. So this is my little research. I know what kind of X somebody likes. I know what kind of X someone else wants. Otherwise, we're just going to get into this sort of like the client's going to come and go, no, that's not what I wanted. And you're going to be sitting there going, sitting through another client meeting. And then the client's going to say, get out. And then the whole project just, goes kablooey in your face. So we want to avoid the big kablooey in your face. So how do we do this? We have to contextualize the project. One way to do this is simply through empathy maps. How many people are doing empathy maps at work? All right. Do you guys print them out and hand them out? Or do you just kind of do them once and they go into a binder? Stick them on the wall. All right. So what we do with empathy maps is we've actually gone to clients and we actually get them printed out and we frame them and we deliver them to the client as a framed document. And we hang it up in one of the meeting rooms, and then whenever the client comes over, we look at the empathy map before going into any sort of discussions and so on. So then what we want to do is we do a lot of look at the customer needs, standard, let's write all of the ideas that we can on Post-it notes, stick them out on the Post-it board, and then we start drawing relationships between all the Post-it notes. So this is a project that we're doing for, it's kind of like someone wanted to do more of like a Yelp, but for people coming to Toronto that may not speak English. So we thought about all the things that we could do, but we added some things like surprises. So if you visited a few of the establishments, you get like a surprise all of a sudden would show up on your screen. We stole that from, Pokemon Go stole that so much from us. And then once you have all of this, you start consolidating and refining the process. So here's where you start thinking about, okay, what are like things? What are things that we can throw out? What are the extreme use cases? And so on. Any questions so far? Yes, no? Everyone's still on the X thing? All right. Okay. So then one of the things we do is we don't focus on the how or who, we look for the why. We always look at why are people going to do something? Why are the users going to do something? And it's simply not who the user is or how they're going to use it, but why they're going to do it. So why are they going to use our app over someone else's app? Why are they going to do banking with our mobile app versus someone else's mobile app, and so on? And once you can understand this why part, you can start contextualizing it and so on. So the next part of this is we've got some user requirements, we've got some features, we've got the why, and what we're going to do is figure out how can we get everybody on board to understand what this project is. So we're going to contextualize it this way. We're going to think of it as a physical, tangible product. So what we do is we simply I went to this website called templatemaker.ln, and you just download a template, cut it out, and put it together, and you've got a little box. The digital product is now a box. And then you ask everyone in the project group to start thinking about what goes on the front, what goes on the inside, what goes on the back, what goes on the bottom, on the sides. And then what you can do is sit with the client, and the client can actually now go, oh yeah, this is the splash screen. These are the settings, terms of use, whatever. And then, if they do something, there's a nice surprise on the inside. So this way the client can actually start thinking about what is this going to look like, how's it going to feel to use, what's going to be where, and so on. I've only had this backfire on me once. And what happened is we did this whole exercise with the client. We gave the client our first prototype, and he goes, where's the box? And we're like, what do you mean? It's like, I thought I was going to get like a box that you could rotate. The user will rotate it on screen. And we're like, all right, that's where we had the thing blow up in our face, and then we started all over again. So the idea of this is really simple. How many have nieces, nephews, and you go on grocery shopping with them? Kids, all right. I have 3 kids. Grocery shopping is actually an adventure in hell. And The big one is the cereal box style. You have to start thinking about your product like a cereal box. And, my kids will buy stuff not knowing what's on the inside or what it is, but simply be on the packaging. So one time my son brought home like something and it was like, do you know what these are? And he goes, no, but it has a panda on it. And I'm like, all right, you're going to eat it. It turned out to be like wheat germ and something mixed together with chocolate. He only ate half a teaspoon of it, and then it's still in our cupboard, I think, somewhere at the back. But if you look at a cereal box, there's quite a lot of information on the front of the package. There's a product, it tells us what it is it doing. Fortified with vitamin D and calcium, made with whole grains. You want to be able to translate those same kind of ideas about the digital product onto the box that you're designing. Because if you just do something like, the client will go, oh, I just want the product on the front. You're not going to sell a lot of your product. It's not going to get downloaded a lot if it's just the product. So we always put up this picture of the bowl of Cocoa Puffs, and everyone's like, what is that? We have no idea. And that's what's going to happen with the user if you don't sort of let them contextualize it and so on. And then, if you go, okay, well, I want all this information on the splash screen, and then you're like, who reads the ingredients on cereal? All right, 1 or 2, 3 people, all right. You only do it once though, right? And never again? Okay. And if you think about it, you can't really sell a lot of cereal if this is what you present to the user. A little bit of a logo and a lot of information. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to go back to this idea of, can we make this product a tangible product? And can we get the idea of what goes on the front, what goes on the back through the user? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little group think. So we've got some requirements and some features. So we're going to build product X. But this is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. And some people are going to start going, oh yeah, light bulb app. All right? All we're going to do is we're going to build an app as a group. All it does is it turns on a light bulb and turns off a light bulb. And that's it. How sexy is that? Woo! All right. So these are the main requirements. So what else do you think we need for our light bulb app to make it work, to contextualize this? Any guesses? Anyone throw out some ideas? Okay, which light is it? Is it the porch light? Kitchen light? Bathroom light? How do we know? All right, what else do we need to throw in there to make this work?
Size.
Excuse me?
Right. What size?
What size light bulb?
Wattage.
Size, wattage. I don't know. All right, so we're going to have to probably put this somewhere into like terms of use. If I use an 80-watt bulb and something bad happens, we're not liable. All right? So what else do we need to throw in here? Probably some kind of like on, off, button. Anything else? Schedule. All right. Schedule. Like when does it go off and when does it go on? Are we going to do Monday through Friday, Tuesday, Sundays, and weekends? Sure. All the above? All right. Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Privacy policy?
Privacy policy, yes. All right. This is my light bulb. Anything that happens with the light bulb is a relationship between the app and you and the light bulb. Yeah, security is the light bulb hackable. Do we want, our neighbor to be able to turn on our light bulb? Do we want our neighbor to know if our light bulb is on? All right, so we'll probably have to put that also into the terms of use. Internationalization, okay. Yep. So if I go on vacation, I'm touring Europe, and all of a sudden I go, hey, I got to turn this light bulb off. Then we got issues with wattage, voltage, and all that. Okay, and also the whole idea, how much, and what languages do we want our app to be used in, and so on. Okay, so these are just a little bit of features. So everyone kind of will take a snapshot of this. Everyone remember all these? All right. All right, I just erased some of it. Okay, so now we're going to do this. All right, what goes on the front of the box?
Big light bulb.
Big light bulb, all right. What kind of light bulb, though? LED light bulb, round light bulb, fluorescent, compact fluorescent light bulb.
Please no.
What's that?
Please no.
Please no.
Not fuzzy.
All right, well, so we'll do the international light bulb. I don't know, it's round. This is what I do is I go to my kids. I go, okay, my daughter's like now she's 7, and I go, draw me something. And whatever she draws, I use that as the standard for everything. So this is the light bulb she drew. Okay, she goes like, if I show her one of these like complex fluorescents, she has no idea what it is. Also, I showed her a phone book, and she didn't know what that was either, so. All right, so what else do we put on the front of the box to make it so that we can contextualize this app? Where's the switch? It is the light bulb? How many people would go and touch a light bulb to turn it off? If it's a 100-watt bulb, you're going to be burning your finger. All right. You only touch it once, and then you learn your lesson. All right, do we do like the Apple slide to unlock? Yes, no? How do we know now that it's on? If I slide it over, how do we know it's on?
The light's on.
Yeah.
Okay, the light goes on. Button changes color. Anything else? So we're done with the front of the box for now? We'll probably have to revisit it.
Something to indicate what the purpose of the thing is.
Okay, so do we put it on the front? Like app to turn light bulb on.
I might go more branded than that, but
Yeah, I'm just, okay. So now that we have so where do we know if this is our porch light, bathroom light? Where do we put that? On the front? Hamburger menu? All right. Okay, so now we're going to put this actually on the side. So if we broke this out, we can go like kitchen, porch, bathroom, 1, bedroom, 1, so on. Okay, and then where do we put the size and wattage part? That's so important. But which side? On the other side? All right. And then where do we put the privacy policy, the security statement about it being hackable? On the bottom? Okay. So on the bottom we get our privacy policy and terms of use, security. So then what goes on top? Okay, the schedule. So we know that it's going to turn off at Monday at 8:30 in the morning, and then it'll turn on for the summer, say like 8:30ish, and so on. So far, so good? Okay. So then what you do is we would take this little thing, everyone would sit down and we would draw the box. And we would have this like awesome little Crayola looking box. If you want, you can do a cereal box. And then what you do is you simply ask everyone in the project meeting to go, is this what we're going to build? And then you go, yes, this is what we're building. So then the client can't come back to you and go, you know what would be awesome? Is if we had our corporate structure like right here. And you're like, well, do you really want that on the front of the box? And they're like, yes. And then you put it on the front of the box, and they go, no, you know what, let's put it on the bottom. So you want to actually, then if you draw the box out for them, like they'll have a bigger understanding of like what things are going on and so on. So then from this, you can translate everything into back to digital. You can also get some kind of usability of like how people will find information, like through the information space and so on. Questions, comments? Fun, not fun? Yes? You just let them decide. And then if someone puts something on the bottom, like you go like, what is the likelihood of you actually flipping the box over to the bottom? Would you flip, like if it has a natural top, will people actually read the top? And so on. So if you like go to a cereal box, like have you ever read the bottom of a cereal box? Does anyone know what's on the bottom of a cereal box? I think the expiry, yeah. And then I think that's also on the top though, right? And then what's on the top of a cereal box? I think some logo and I think some other information. Yeah. So, you just let people figure out what it is. If something's really important, what you're trying to avoid is like having everything crammed onto the front, because it's almost impossible then to build a digital product with like everything jammed on the front and so on. Sorry. Yep. Excuse me? Yep. I want to be able to turn my light bulb on and off. I want to make my carbon footprint smaller. Okay, then that was not in the original specs when we threw everything up here. Right. That's a different product category. Yeah, it'll, like if you're trying to say, all right, I'm blind, I don't know if my light bulb is on or off. Do we add voice recognition, like a Siri aspect to it? Is my light bulb on? Yes, your light bulb is on. Please turn it off. Yeah, and then this would be the upsell for the app and so on. All right, so if we get back, this is a really bad slide, I guess. There is a box there, okay? This is very Apple-esque, okay? So you figure out what's on front, then you figure out what's on the sides, and then you figure out what's on the top and the bottom. And then this way, like I said, you're physically contextualizing the product. You're able to ask those questions like, okay, if this had voice recognition into it, how would I talk into the box for it to recognize? Do I have to like do something special? Is it a preset? And so on. And then if you actually get everyone on board, you get to do the Batman Superman high five. Seeing like Robin's kind of like left out hanging. Kind of feel sorry for him. He's like the account manager that doesn't come to meetings. And then, once you get this whole thing, you want to have this full contact with the product. And the more you actually build something like a box, and you can actually stick it on the shelf, then you can actually have people start looking, okay, this is not a good place for this information because it's going to get lost, it's going to go here, and so on. And then once you get the full buy-in, you get to have a little celebration. My prerequisite Drake GIF. This is what happens when you have teenagers at home. And then that's it. So, like I said, I can pass this around if you want. Then it's nothing super special, but you can crush it and so on. But the idea is that you should be able to draw everything that you want on the app onto that template in a client meeting, bring it back to them, or do it with them, sorry, and then have them actually say, like, why are we doing it here? Why has this been put here? And then if you want, you can do a really nice mock-up of it, and then you bring it back, and then the client actually rolls through the product as a physical product. They make suggestions on, okay, I don't really like this, what's on the front here. Then you go, okay, let's stick it on the back. And then how was the user going to know that the information presented to them on the front, how do they get to the back to get that information, and so on and so on. And I think I went a little bit too fast, sorry. So any questions? Yes?
When you get to the place where you first started to roughly figure out what goes on which pass in the box, do you often then have to go back and visit requirements because stuff emerges that you hadn't thought of initially?
Yeah, and the question is, like, once you start doing the box and then you find out that there's things missing, then that's when you actually step back and you want to figure all that stuff out in the box development part, rather than, you know, under your 5th or 4th sprint, all of a sudden somebody goes, hey, what about voice recognition? And you're like, where did that come from? And so by doing this, you're going to get all that, all the ideas out, all the little missing things that might have gotten overlooked. I was doing a usability study for an app a couple weeks ago, and someone forgot to put a menu. Like, they built the menu, except they didn't put the menu button.
Right.
So it's kind of like, where's the settings? And they're like, on the settings page. And it's like, how do I get there? And there's like, no menu button. So the more you can hash it out, the more you can revisit the requirements, get it all done. Also, you'll find that things that people may think are really important, once they get put on the box, they're kind of like, that's not really important. And then you can toss it or put it into like a version 3 or 4 release or something like that. Sorry, you had a question at the back? I was just brought in to do the usability part. And then it was funny because it was not even in the documentation. So like, it had become so commonplace to build certain things that people just overlooked it. And that's sort of the thing that you want to do, because this is like a step back from digital. And once you start working in physical, you kind of have to rethink all the commonplace things that you do, and that may get overlooked in the development cycle. Any other questions? Yes?
When you're figuring out the why, do you work with the client on that, or do you work separate from them?
Well, you have to do a brainstorm. Figuring out the why is always with the client. You may come with some research beforehand. You also may ask them why are they building it, and then do a little bit of user research or some kind of product research, but you want them involved in it, because you don't want you to sit down and go, the client says, build me an X. And we come with like the 2 little black lines crossed over, and it was the 3D X that they wanted. You want to know that before you start any major design development process. So the more
Involve your developers as well?
Yeah, developers, everybody. So the whole idea is it's totally you want the client in there, you want developers, you want designers, you want the front end, the back end people, you want the account manager in there. Everybody should be able to contextualize the product. Everyone should understand what's being built, and there's no gray area. Any other questions? Sorry, yes?
Couple of things, have you done any vision exercise with the product before getting into these, so you get people to actually, get some uses?
Well, we usually, you're talking about like a visualization exercise? Or?
No, the vision of the product.
Oh, the vision of okay, what is the vision? Yeah, that's usually the why. Like you have to have a why statement. Kind of like, why are we building this? Why are we doing it? Like clients will, we had a client who says like, I want a native app. I want it in the iTunes store. I want it in Google Play. And the big question was why? And the client just sat there and goes, well, so-and-so is doing it. And that we figured we had to actually talk them into a whole like hybrid mobile, web solution because after he understood why he wanted to have something, it's like he was basically treating it like the kid next door had a shiny bike. I want a shiny bike. So that's where you have to figure out the why, and then you start building the design part.
And the second is any particular reason why you use this small format other than the flexibility of carrying anyway. I've seen for game ideas
Yeah.
that they come up with the bigger box and they will use stickies and things
Yeah.
like that. Kind
Well,
of serial type of.
yeah, we actually do it with a cereal box type sized template. Except what happened is I tried to put a cereal box together for this, and then I realized I was going on the subway, and there's like no way it was going to survive the ride. So, and then I thought, okay, I'll give everyone a little box to make, but then it was 140 people on the list, so then I thought that was kind of out of the way, so I went for the small contextual box. Plus, it's a little bit more Crayola, crayon-y box, and it's a little bit more closer to like a web or mobile app sort of size. But yeah, and then we use the big cereal box. We put Post-it notes on it the first time around. We sketch on it. I've actually bought the whiteboard marker stuff, paint, and I'm making a box with the whiteboard marker stuff. The only unforeseen consequence of that is that when people start handling it, they get it all over their hands. So that was like a big waste of time developing that. Any other questions or yes?
Yeah, I guess two questions. So first, like how frequently do you use this technique in like your own, I guess, day-to-day work? And then assuming it's infrequent, like what's the criteria you would use to choose this exercise over something else?
Okay, so the question was like how frequently I do it,
Yeah.
and whether it's a one-off kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It really depends on the client. If we've worked with the client before, we've done it with them already. So there's no need to kind of go through the educational process with them. If it's a client that's done a lot of digital work already and they've had an AOR on record, they kind of know the process a little bit. So then it's kind of 50-50 call, do we do it or not do it? If it's a client that's never done any work with us, or they're slowly moving into the digital space for whether it's an app or a new website or whatever, then we go through the process with them, just for them to understand our thought process, we understand their thought process, and so on. So it's like a it depends scenario. But usually if it's new, yes. Old client, no. Unless they're going to do something really crazy, like we want to build a Amazon Echo app, and we're like, all right. So then we'd probably bring a coffee can into the meeting, and then we would say, like, hey, let's talk to the coffee can.
So, in your experience, what has been the role of mindset in a success? Because you've got to change somebody's mindset. So what have you found in your experiences?
Usually, like I said, everyone, the question is like change in mindset, or like you're talking about the client mindset, or the...
If I'm a prospect, or if I'm a client.
You're the client?
I'm a gray involving versus
Right.
involving in 2 seconds and all that.
Yeah.
How would I?
Well, I think the whole thing is if the client, doesn't draw, they can at least put a box. They can draw a circle.
I have 2 left hands.
2 left hands. We can make little cutouts for you.
No, I'm saying many times that's the success and failure, the mindset of the
Yeah, I think when you, especially when you're dealing with a client that has very little digital product experience, making it a physical product allows them to build a bridge, like a mental bridge. Like, this is the artifact. This is what it's going to look like digitally. This is how, if this was a book, this is how it would work. This is how it'll work digitally, and so on. So the idea is to kind of give them some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? A relationship between physical and digital, and hopefully that kind of gets buy-in.
because you said you're doing it for a bank. So I'm just thinking of how you're doing it.
Well, with the bank, it's really we're dealing with people who still like branch banking. And the reason we're doing that is because we're trying to say that right now, when you walk down the street, you know, bank along Spadina, what's going to draw me into the bank as a new client? It's not where the building is, because maybe I come downtown once a month or something. It's, can I get the user into the mobile app as quickly as possible?
This may be sort of an extension to that question. How do you sort of facilitate and deal with bottom-of-the-box thinkers that are sort of oriented towards all the stuff that goes on the bottom or the back that, you know, they want to see up front?
I think the question is like, how do you deal with the bottom, everything that people want should be on the bottom of the box, they want it on the front of the box?
Yeah. Do you use users? Do you bring them back to the like cereal box on the aisle? Like,
We usually will mock something up on the box maybe. We'll even draw it while we're in the meeting, and it's kind of like, do you really want?
and they don't go, that's perfect, do it just like that.
Once in a while it does happen, but then what happens is once you do some more user research, users will kind of go like, why is the corporate structure like one of the first things I see? I want to know about services, products.
So you do bring in users.
Yeah, we do some, like, we try to kibosh quote unquote bad ideas with good research. Like, we don't do biased research. Like, if it's really something that should be on the front, we can work around it, maybe make it like a off-canvas menu or an off-canvas item. It doesn't have to be omnipresent all the time or so on. Any other questions? Yes, no? All right. So like I said, if you go to andrewsmyk.com/AXD, there's a couple links for templates. There's a company that actually has templates for boxes for pretty much any shape size that you want. And if you come up with questions or want to know some more about process, you can tweet me. My email address is also on the web link as well. That's it. All right, thank you.